There we go, and we're live. Good morning, folks. Welcome to another Big Byte. Once again, I am hosting, so once again, apologies, because I'm going to start dropping frames any second now. So before that happens, let's jump in and hopefully show you guys a few cool things. So take it away, Jacob. Hopefully show you guys a few cool things. So take it away, Jacob.
The idea that they have, even though they don't know what they're talking about in terms of UX, they may actually have a good idea either way. So that's just an example of how this might apply to what we're doing. This is, when it comes to work, probably one of my least favorites is when people say things like, we've always done it this way.
Oh,
And,
hold on one
that's
moment. Kevin
great.
and Jessica can't hear anything, so
Well, if Jessica can't hear, we've got
wait,
a
Kevin
problem.
can hear it now. Jessica, can you also hear it?
We're on a little bit of a delay.
Tell you
I'll
what,
start over.
I'm gonna just take this quick moment to voice my dislike for YouTube. It is immense. That is all. But if Kevin can hear
YouTube
us, I think we're
has
golden.
speech processing. So YouTube, if you're listening, I love you. Please keep working for us. We love Google and Alphabet, the company. Lots of good products and services. Very reliable. I recommend. All right, let's start over. This is a page that shows some of the different logical fallacies, which are just things that if used in an argument are not good ways to argue, and they're not very logical. So just with the debates and with some conversations, politically or otherwise that we may be having, these are good things to keep in mind. The last one is also a good one to keep in mind, the fallacy, which basically means that even if someone's using one of these other fallacies, they're not inherently wrong. To kind of bring it back to UX and to agency life, some examples that we might hear in the workplace. So who are you to talk where you reject an argument because of the person who's saying it? That could be when we say, oh, the client doesn't know what they're talking about with this feedback. We're not going to take their design feedback seriously, when the client may not know what they're talking about, but they still may have a good point when it comes to UX and when it comes to design. Same thing here with, appealing to tradition. Just because someone says, we've always used this email template, that's not a great reason to use that email template. So this is just, a good resource to have in these times. The next thing I have is this article about user experience and customer experience. And we talk a lot here about being audience-led and the consumer journey, and customer experience is really very strategy focused, I think, in agencies. And user experience tends to be, siloed and more digital and more design. But they're very similar, and as you can see, they need to be friends. They need each other. I don't know about this home button. That's a little old. It's
Oh,
iPhone
Jake,
12
hold
day.
on one moment. You're cutting out a little bit, and I blame Spectrum this time, not you or YouTube.
I'm going to keep going.
I mean, yeah, keep going. I'll just.
Are you Can you hear me at all? Or
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It was just like you were cutting out a little bit here and there. You were getting like the
fine.
fill thing for a second, but you sound okay now. So I'm sorry. Continue.
Robot
Thank
Jake.
you. All right. So this is just talking about how, user experience and customer experience need to work together to fix user problems. So in many cases, it's going to be a combination of digital and non-digital changes that need to improve the customer experience. And the thing that I really liked is that user experience and customer experience, they can't really be separated to the users. So even if we refer to it as we've got our customer strategy and our user experience, users experience the brand together. So they're not going to say, oh well, I think of this brand differently because of the way I experienced their website versus how I experienced it when I walked in the store. To them, it's the same brand all the way through. So these things sort of need to be connected. And the last thing is something fun that I found that is, it's a super simple idea and it's something that I think anyone, creatively could probably implement. And this is, it's a game that you can play virtual with, remote teams or groups of friends. And it's all done in this slideshow, which they let you download for free. And so it's like you're going on a hike and you split up into teams, and you have one person who's the storyteller, and they go through, and some of the slides you'll come up with, and they'll say, oh, you found this item. Do you pick it up, or what do you do with it? And your teams will vote. And the next slide will say, oh, if you use this item, this is what happened. And you've got people keeping track of, what tools do you have in your backpack and what's going on. I haven't played it. I don't. It says you need 10 players per team. I just simply don't have that many friends, but it sounds like a lot of fun. So again, this is something that we could either play with our teams here, or again, this kind of thing. Like, we can make slideshows. We have great writers. We have great illustrators. Like, this is something that's uses technology, but in a really simple way that is really creative still, and engaging. So it doesn't always have to be VR, AR to still be digital and to still be innovative and creative. So I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's
Reminds
great.
me a lot like a more accessible D&D.
Yes,
Totally.
very much so.
Mixed with
It's
the
got
choose
that
your own
same
adventure book.
style of storytelling and a little bit of chance, but also strategy as well.
I like the fact too that it's kind of like I guess like low tech version of like you were saying, it doesn't have to be VR or AR or anything. Like, this is something that it's so cool and it's super accessible because everybody can use Google Chat or Hangouts, or well, not Hangouts, that's going away, but Chat. Yeah.
That's it for me.
Cool.
Okay, I'll go ahead and take over.
Do please.
Okay, can you see the tab with Among Us?
Hold on. I'm going to resize it because your screen is a lot larger than Jake's for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Golden, go for it.
Same exact laptop. It's crazy.
Good to go. Okay, so first I want to share a game that recently went viral in September. It's an online multiplayer. You can play with up to 4 to 10 people. And what's interesting about this is it actually came out in 2018, 2 years ago, and it didn't really pick up much steam, but it was always like this free-to-play game, and it didn't get any traction until 2 months ago. And a big reason for that is because of influencers. And I think as an advertising agency, we always are thinking how can we increase engagement? How can we get new people to join the game or get interested in a product? And one of the things that we talk about is the power of influencers, whether they're micro or these bigger ones. And the way this game blew up is these players on Twitch, they started to stream it with their friends and other streamers. And it really picked up for people that were under the age of around 30. And it became so popular. Just the other day, U.S. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she actually hopped on the stream onto Twitch and streamed it live to encourage people to vote. and she
I
had
saw
over,
that.
I think, 400,000 people uh, joining in live to watch her play. Um, and some of the stats that you see here: 86 million downloads by mid-September. It's really, I think, a testament to how influencers can get the name out in a way that you may not have been able to back in like two years ago. And it was all, from what I understand, it was all organic in that way. But if we could replicate that in a similar way with like an influencer, we should, I think, look into that.
Absolutely.
I've noticed that a lot lately on Twitch, where game companies will pay, top gamer influencers on Twitch to play their game for a day or two or a weekend or whatever, and they'll do this in like waves, right? So right when the game launches, they'll pay, the top 20 people on Twitch or whatever. It's probably very expensive to just play this all weekend and just generate tons of obsession over unhealthy amounts of obsession over it, and it definitely works. But like you said, Among Us is very, very organic, which is really cool.
It's so funny because they were planning on doing a Among Us 2, like a second version, and then this took off, and they're like, wait, we actually did do something right. It just no one knew about it, and so they're going back and just fixing this original game and making it just better for everyone, which I think is really, really interesting. And then second, this is something that I just saw the other day. This is called ClipDrop, and it's something that is supposed to make AR practical. Basically, it lets your phone take a picture and then drag it over onto your desktop computer. And it's easier to see than to explain, but it will actually take a picture, crop out an object, and then you can drop it right onto your
Come
computer.
on.
What?
That's what?
Straight out of like a gestural interface from like Iron Man or something.
Right?
We're
Yeah.
living in the future.
That's insane.
Come
So-
on.
Now let's do the reverse, and you take it from your computer and just drop it in a real way.
That's
If
what
you
I
have a
need.
3D model on your computer, maybe you do that. And actually, they do that with Apple. You have your model, and then you can drop it into space. But I thought it was just a really interesting application of, using your phone, using machine learning to cut out the object, and then using that technology to drop it into your
It's
computer.
crazy.
It's a really interesting development. I think, while this is something that you have to pay for, and it's not something that, maybe works as well as it's shown right here, I can see this like being a technology that everyone starts to use in the future once it gets more mainstream, with like Apple supporting it or Google supporting it.
That's so
The
cool.
icon in the middle to the left of ClipDrop is like a QR sort of thing that triggers that whole functionality to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So it would work for something like Adobe Photoshop if you have the plugin. So very cool. That's all I have.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Dude, thank you. Really cool shares.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Jeff, you're. Oh
Right.
my gosh.
Let's,
Look at
let's
this.
dull it up a little bit.
Stretchy boy. Hold on. Let me just.
Oh no, resolution issue.
I don't know. I can't tell anymore. It's
all right.
just whatever it is. It's my fault. So. there
Well,
we go.
anyways, the biggest antitrust case within, well, it's probably 15 years, maybe even 20 years. Microsoft was in the 90s. Is Google, and this happened on Tuesday. The DOJ brought, pretty significant charges, monopoly-related charges against Google. At first look, it seems pretty weak, and it seems almost like a political play to try and get some movement ahead of an election. And Google seems to have a pretty good handle on the charges. And I think it was Larry Page early on that said, competition's just a click away on the internet. And I think that was a really good quote to alleviate a lot of these antitrust issues that might pop up for big tech. The fact that someone else can just make a better product that encourages people to use their service, I don't think that's on Google. I think a lot of their antitrust issues stem from their advertising business, and a lot of like self-serving of ad traffic through Google's channels. And they also paid Apple for exclusivity for their phones for search. So like Siri uses Google, Safari uses Google. So I think that's where a lot of the charges came from. But they seem to have a pretty good handle on the charges. So yeah, we'll keep up on that legal stuff. There's a new Google Analytics. Yeah, who knows what'll happen with that.
Yeah.
A new version of Google Analytics just came out, and I guess the biggest takeaway is there used to be two separate versions of Google Analytics, one for the web and then one for your applications. So like, you know, Facebook on your phone or whatever. They're now merging those into two, and just beautiful name of Google Analytics web and app.
Oh, that's just wow.
Yeah, that's unacceptable. Anyways,
Stand the test of time.
it literally says down here, built for the long-term future. Not much has changed, I think, under the hood. I think the biggest issues or changes that we're going to encounter are from Apple's new iOS is going to require app developers to ask permission every time you open up an app if they can share ad information with that app, which is brand new, and it's going to throw a lot of tracking away, I think. And same with their ITP that came out in 2017, 2018, is now severely limiting the length of cookies for people on the web. So that also is negatively affecting our analytics and, you know, how accurate the information is and how timely it is. And these channels that we've set up with look back dates of like 45 days, 60 days, like those are basically ineffective now on WebKit.
Interesting. So that
So-
means
Yeah,
that
a lot of these things that are good for consumer privacy are bad for marketers. If anyone watched, you know, The Social Dilemma or tuned into Jordan's panel, there's a lot of considerations on both sides. You know, as a user, I love saying only use my location once and then never again, or I only give you permission. Now iOS has, when apps ask for photos permissions, you can only give them permissions to like certain photos if you want to, or to say like generalize my location, but don't give my precise location. So things like that are great for privacy, but then as a marketer, it's like we can't track our users. You know, we were talking about customer experience, like it's hard to track that and to, you know, measure how effective we're being. So we'll have to get smarter.
So this is what it's going to look like. And you can, I feel like you can turn this off in the settings. I was looking at that somewhere else, but it's, I mean, it's pretty obvious, and it's a little jarring, maybe. I mean, I'm sure iOS users are familiar with this sort of pop-up. It just seems a little, you know, a little damning. Like to track you across apps and websites, it seems a little, you know, I mean, they're literally tracking you, so it is what it is, but that's coming. I think that got pushed to next year. It was supposed to come out this year, but that got pushed out till next year. So we have a little bit of time, but I'd like to see how this interacts between the web and apps on the new Google Analytics and how much data we're actually able to get.
I think it's funny that the second option is ask them not to track. Like you can request it, but they might not listen to you. Or is that just a nice way of putting it?
I think that's just a nice way of putting it, like disallow tracking.
Okay.
For Apple, they may be able to block it, but on the web, it's usually just a nice request. So that basically sets the option for you as a user, but it's still up to, you know, the website or the application to ask and say, hey, does this user have, you know, do not track set? And if so, you know, don't track them. So there's certainly sites that try to get around that.
Yeah, that's about it. A 64-player multiplayer Pac-Man is coming to Google Stadia. It's pretty
What?
cool. Yeah, dude.
Wait.
So basically, like the 4-player one that they have at Swilberg is. Oh my god!
Look at that.
What?
Oh yeah. Oh, but is it like, so it's not 64 in one board, it's 64 competitors playing
Correct.
the game.
So you clear your own
Oh.
board, and then I think it might
That's
be
not
like,
how I had thought of that.
yeah, I don't know if it's like tournament style, like you'll start a new board with different competitors later on in the tournament. I don't know. Anyways, I figured I'd lighten it up after talking about legal Google stuff all day.
Appreciate that.
So yeah, hey, here's what it is.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Yeah, that's about all I'm rocking today.
Cool. Well, thank you. And Matt Ebent, in response to your question of where's the pop-up that denies them sending ads for things that you were just thinking about, that is not here yet because the satellites, they don't require any sort of like yes or no when they're just beaming down into your brain to steal your thoughts and ideas. So sorry
If you
about
just
that.
you can buy this at like any store, just like some aluminum foil, right? And then just sort of like mold it to your head, around your head, and that'll keep the beams from getting in. It's just
I
a hot
saw
tip there.
saw a lot of those kids at RIT. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, there's a few.
There
A
are
lot
some
of tinfoil
characters
hats.
at RIT.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
look what
All
he's
right.
created.
Actually, we have one last quick thing because we got a last minute submission from
Yes.
a certain somebody named Jordan Bommeljay.
What?
Oh, yeah, I know, right? However,
Is he in the chat, or was that like a text?
he texted me and he was like, "Hey,
Okay.
if you guys are doing the Big Byte, you should show this." However, it doesn't look like I can actually share my screen while I'm streaming, so never mind.
I see
really?
a screen share.
You guys can see it in.
You want me to try it?
Nah, I mean whatever. It doesn't matter.
It's 5:38.
Put it in the Google chat.
I'll put it in the Google chat. Actually, here, I'll ping this to you guys. One of you can share it if you want to. Everything, man. Everything is just a pain.
It is, but we're learning and growing.
Are we?
I think so.
I think I stopped growing at like the age of 12, but
But I'm learning.
trying to learn.
All right. Beautiful. Okay, cool.
What are we
Thank
looking
you.
at?
Thank you for sharing that, Jake. So this was sent over to us. This is a fun, interactive map to kind of showcase where we are kind of like seeing certain states at the moment for the general election. Hovering over each one will give you more details on it, which is really kind of cool. So it kind of also indicates certain things for the Electoral College and whatnot. But it's a lot of this is, you know, kind of like guessed data at the moment. It's kind of estimates, but since we do have early voting and stuff, I'm sure that they're actually able to kind of add some of those details into it. But just again, just like one of those really cool instances of awesome data and really kind of accessible ways of viewing it so that you can kind of understand, because I know that this is, I mean, it seems simple, but it's pretty confusing, all this stuff. So
Yeah, the Electoral College is that's pros and cons.
it had mostly cons. But yeah, they have, let's see, 40,000 simulations that their election forecast runs every time it updates. So, wow.
Damn.
Yeah, that's interesting. So like you can say here, you'll see like Texas right now. It looks like it's trending. Mostly votes going to Trump. But then you can go up here and say, but what if?
What if? Yeah.
It flipped to Biden, and then the whole entire map like updates based on. You can see these are like electoral vote bubbles updating.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Really like the animation style too, and the art style is really cool too.
It is. Yeah, I like that.
They really capture the essence of both the candidates, I feel.
I feel like they did. And Jackie, I like that you look at this site every day to both calm yourself and make you anxious. That's
It's a
perfect.
good picture.
So Jackie.
87's.
I mean, realistically, that's the way of the
That's
world
what's
right
up.
now. Is you
That's
kind of go
what's
back
up.
and forth between anxiety and eerie calm.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna favorite
This
this.
is a good way to end.
Yeah, I mean, all right, that's it. We'll say this is a fun time. So thank you guys for joining. We'll push this stuff out for you guys later today to take a look at on your own. And that's it. Happy Friday.
Friday small
and
bite.
Enjoy your weekends.
Yeah, thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go play Among Us.
Thank you.
Do
Bye.
that. Happy Friday.
Bye bye, guys.